Welcome back, my fellow nomads, to the Travel Plans podcast. It's me again, the traveling man, Jonathan Nelson, here to bring you on a journey across Jamaica and possibly beyond if I have the time for it. This episode, I went to Pineapple Beach in Montego Bay, more specifically Unity Hall. I've returned with some entertaining tidbits from my experiences there. Similar to the last time, we are going there for a photo booth. Really, most, if not all, of my travels are going to involve running some kind of photo booth operation for the company that I am working under. We got there on time, but nothing was really set up for us, so we ended up waiting there for a good deal. After everything was finished being put together and we are about to start, the rain started. And it was raining pretty heavy. This is always something that I'm kind of confused about. I've been to a couple beach events now where they're outdoors and have no covering to speak of except for the occasional tent, and they're outdoors and it rains. You know, sometimes it's hard to tell how the weather is going to turn, and that's fine. But it just seems odd to me that rain this hard would not be foreseen in some kind of forecast, but I don't know. I'm not an event planner. I've never planned one. I've never even put together a surprise birthday party, so maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. That's fine. Because of a combination of the heavy torrential rainfall and the lack of proper covering, the people who were at the party already were scrambling under any kind of covering they could find, which included the tent that our arrangement was under. Now, this space is not supposed to be a refuge, even though that was what it became temporarily. The space is supposed to be a very bougie lounge area for a certain client. When the client themselves arrived, they were very taken aback by the fact that their space had been commandeered by what had appeared to be a very sizable Spanish-speaking tourist contingency. Considering that we were in Montego Bay, I realized that it's pretty commonplace for a bunch of tourists to be around. It just seemed a bit strange to me because they were exclusively Spanish-speaking and no one there was bilingual. We ended up starting late, initially because of rain, and then finally because it was difficult to move the people out of the space because of the language barrier. Eventually we got some of them to move out, and some came and took photos and whatever. At some point, the rain stops, it quiets down for a bit, music is playing. All of a sudden some dancers start up this dance hall arrangement that they had been practicing earlier in the day. When we got here and we were setting up, we saw them practicing out on the stage, and now it was showtime, and almost immediately it started raining again. And when I say raining again, I mean the same torrential, near sideways kind of raining. Heavy, cold raindrops. These dancers, being the great performers that they were, decided, you know what? Whatever. It's raining. We're just gonna keep dancing. We're gonna keep dancing. There's no point. We need to get paid. We came here. We were paid to dance. So let us go out and dance. And they went out and they danced in the rain, and they almost killed themselves because the stage that they were dancing on was very slippery. It was not conducive to being wet and being stood upon. I'm surprised there weren't more accidents. One day they did a split, and the split looked particularly forceful. Other than that, everyone seemed to be fine. But it's kind of exciting because these people, they're dancing, and they're dancing up, if you forgive the pun, if you don't forgive the pun, it's fine. They're dancing up a storm out there, and all of the Spanish-speaking people, they start getting like really excited, and they're like, yeah, in Spanish. I'm assuming that they were going, yeah, based on their facial expressions and their inflection and their body language, all of that. At some point, the dance number ends, and then the Spanish people decide that this is the perfect time to go out onto the dance floor themselves. So it's still raining, and the Spanish people decide to go out and they proceed to, dance and dance and dance. And similar to how, on Vine you will see people doing hip hop dances to songs that are clearly not hip hop songs. They were doing like salsa and flamenco and merengue. I don't know what merengue looks like actually, I may have to research that. But they're doing all of these Spanish dances to music that is in Spanish. So at some point the DJ was like, you know what? I'm assuming he went, you know what? Because the music then took a drastic turn from being very general to suddenly all being Spanish themed. Now when I say Spanish themed, that's not necessarily accurate, because some of the songs, for example, were not in Spanish. Most of them were in English because they were going through like, I don't know the name of that song, but Maria, Maria, they're doing that one. They played Macarena at some point. And they're just having so much fun. They're just dancing, dancing, dancing. And at some point they play Magdalena, which is Portuguese. It's not Spanish. And so even though it has a certainly danceable beat, and until I found out that it was actually Portuguese, because of the heavy drum line, I was under the impression that it was like some kind of African song. I don't know, African is very general. Africa is a humongous. So I am being just as prejudiced and inaccurate as that DJ was being. But they didn't care. The Spanish people didn't care. The reason why it was extra funny to me is because I have this thing about conventional attractiveness, where when it's really, really strong, it becomes funny to me. Like, there's some kind of social curve where it goes up until it's intimidating, and then it curves down into hilarity. So the Spanish-speaking contingency was mostly populated by fair-skinned people with jet black hair, with amazing thick eyebrows and fantastic bodies, and they're wearing tight clothes. If it wasn't those people, then it was darker-skinned people, mostly men, very muscular, wearing barely their shirts, where you can see their pecs like pushing out of the sides like so much ham. And these people are dancing away in the rain, and they're getting soaked to the bone with water, and you can see straight through their clothes. And like all of this generic Spanish music is playing, and the whole time I was cracking up. I could not do my job. I couldn't do my job because these people are so sexy. Why are they so sexy? Look at all of their butts. Everybody had amazing butts. And they're just twirling around, and some of them are barefoot, and some of them have their legs up. And it was just, I don't know, man. I expected it to be a regular day on the job. I didn't expect to get 2 shows and delicious food. So that event was a plus 10 out of 10. Thanks again, Nomads, for tuning in. I hope you like these little stories, these little snippets of my forays into road trips and distant party adventures. I hope they were a fraction as entertaining to hear them as it was to experience them myself. If that's the case, then I'm sure you're enjoying these stories, and I'm happy to come and bring you more. Until then, stay safe in your travels. Thanks again for tuning in. This is the Traveling Man, signing off.